Oh, welcome. Hey, this is the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I'm your host, Jeremy. Glad to be back in the studios here at allpointstv.com. How's everybody doing today? Woo! It's officially fall. We got John in the studio here making it happen. How's it going, John?
Man, I love that background he chose, man.
Thanks, man.
It looks really good.
Psychedelic. It's beautiful. Man, I'm ready for fall season. It is unseasonably warm. We officially now have an Indian summer, and I was ranting on that a couple weeks ago, but when it's, you know, pushing 80 degrees and it's October, that's an Indian summer for Michigan, and we're loving it. But the leaves are changing, colors coming in. I was up north last weekend doing some trail riding, and I can tell you, you know, up north colors are probably about maybe 15% right now. I'm not an expert on that, but they were starting to come in. They're starting to look good. If you guys make a trip up north, probably in the next 7 to 10 days, it's going to be looking real pretty up there. So get your fall color tours in. Man, I love this season. I love it. It's football, and I don't give a damn about the controversy. I just love football. All right. We got a big game coming up this weekend, Michigan State. I know that right now I'm wearing some blue and gold. It's not typically my shade, Brian. But I love the G, and I like our new shirts. They're pretty cool. Let me show this to you guys. Check this out. So we got the molecule going on back there, the G3 molecule.
Yeah, when the top part had the green and stuff, you could see right through it to the, looks like to the background.
You can see right through me?
You basically you can see, it looks like it does it. Yeah, by the way, you can see the scar tissue there. No.
See right through me, John.
But it looks cool. It looked cool. I mean, you had these little red dots and green dots.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I like these shirts in spite of the color chosen. But at any rate, yeah, football, good stuff. I hope you guys enjoy the game this weekend. Pick up your new G3C THC molecule shirts at the club. I think they're ready. I think they're coming in some different colors too. I sure hope they come in some different colors.
That looks good though, man. What I like about it too, I like the fact that you're doing it with the G and then not just the marijuana leaf, because to me that always kind of looks like, the people who are critical of medical marijuana, see, they always want to attach it to hippies. So
that's just it. People don't know any different. We're not really after the leaves. And I know that most people, that's what they associate marijuana with. We're after that little molecule thing that's on the back of my shirt. Those crystals. It's all about the crystals, okay?
That's in the bud, right?
Huh?
That's in the buds?
It's everywhere, John. It's everywhere. Crystals are everywhere. But yeah, no, really, they are. They're everywhere. There's a concentration of them on the bud. Yes, John. But they're everywhere. All right. What we got going on here? We got last weekend. We had the Adopt a Highway. That went out pretty good. It was a nice day, beautiful day. Thank you very much to everybody who came out and volunteered on Saturday and helped us clean up M13. We didn't have a large crowd, but you guys did a great job. Jan, I want to give you special props because, man, you are a trooper and you put yourself through the ringer and still came out and cleaned up. So thank you very much. And thank you also to everybody who went out on Friday evening, the night before the Adopt a Highway, and served up food over at our soup kitchen. So thank you, Mr. Matt, for putting it on and hosting it and doing it. And thank you for all the volunteers who came out and helped serve at the soup kitchen. We really appreciate it. Volunteerism is always going to be a big thing of the G3C because, number one, we feel like you should always give back to the community. That's the right thing to do. And number two, we feel like it's kind of good stewardship on our part as cannabis connoisseurs, as cannabis entrepreneurs, to show that we do care about the community and those around us. And those are just simple gestures that we do as a club to show that. So we appreciate the people who help us show that, our volunteers, and we definitely want to encourage everybody to step up and volunteer if they can. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to have some special things coming up this fall and winter season, right around Christmas time. We always do this. This year will be no exception. We're going to be doing some specific charity events where we're going to be trying to make improvements for the community. One of the things we like to do is to donate to families in the need around the Genesee County area and specifically in Genesee Township. Right around Thanksgiving, we like to hook them up with some Thanksgiving goodies, basically a Thanksgiving meal and probably groceries for the week as well. So we've got that going on. It's coming up, and we're going to be doing that and a couple other events as well. If you have a special event or something you want to tell us about, feel free to drop us a suggestion. We're always looking at different ways that we can step up and help others out in the community. It's not like an open faucet or anything like that, but we definitely want to hear what's going on, and if we can, we want to be a part of it. So any input is always welcome. All right, guys. With all that being said, I do want to announce that we've got something very special coming up, very exciting, and it is our Halloween Bash. It is going to be happening on Halloween, which is a Tuesday. It's also the 31st, if you've forgotten. But yeah, it's Tuesday at the club. Be there or be square. This is going to be the biggest, best G3C Halloween party yet. All right, we're going to have costume prizes, all kinds of different stuff going on. So get your costumes together, get your spirit ready, get in the mood for Halloween, all right, because it's coming. And we're going to have a big old good time at the G3C on the 31st. So please mark your calendars, plan to come on down. I believe we're also going to be including on the 31st a late night as well. So I think we're going to have extended hours on that day and just give you more time to come out and celebrate. We realize that is in the middle of the work week for most people. You know, you work until 5, 6 o'clock at night and you can't get to the G to enjoy Halloween, or maybe you're getting the kids out for Halloween and, you know, you got that whole thing trick-or-treating going on. That's great. You'll still have time to get back to the club and have a good, fun evening at the G3C and take part in the activities, all right? So mark your calendars, Halloween, the 31st, be at the G, okay? There's no extra charge. You're just going to have a good time. Just be a member, okay? That's it. All right, I want to share a couple news items with you guys today, let you guys know what's going on with medical marijuana here in Michigan. And there's a few things, obviously, that we need to discuss. One of the things that I want to bring up today is the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. They haven't met since we last talked on this podcast, all right? There's been no more meetings, but they did list their fee schedule for their new licensing. So I want to get into that today, let you guys know what you're looking at, what the state has already decided. They're not taking applications yet. The date on that hasn't changed, still December 15th, so nothing different there. However, they are now letting you know what's it going to cost. All right, so let me pull this up here, share with you guys what the state has decided. And you know, I think it is amazing just the way that our state, particularly our state here in Michigan, is handling the medical marijuana issue. You know, conservatively, years ago, if you look at the conservative approach to government, government was basically viewed as a necessary evil. You know, we do need it. We need it to be there. We need it to operate certain basic functions. And it did, and it does, and it will. Here's the thing. Usually in the past, I think the majority of the Americans out there viewed government as something that needs to exist but doesn't need to profit. Okay? It is not an entity that provides for itself. It exists because others are providing for its existence. Put it that way. Government doesn't generate enough funds to exist, to stay there, to operate. It lives off from taxpayers' dollars, period. It doesn't have any way to generate money other than fees, licensing, and so on. And in the past, the fees and the licenses, the dollar amounts that were assessed by the state were done so directly in accordance with the cost to providing that particular service, that license or that you know, regulation, whatever it was. Now, with medical marijuana, you are seeing a definite change in how our state legislature and our state administration is dealing with revenue generation. And no longer are they really just considering, let's just take care of the cost associated to the consumer or to the taxpayer. Now, it is clear as day, written in policy, that government is in the business of being in business. And that is a profound change to how our government operates. And the proof is in the pudding, folks. The proof is right here in these fees. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the amount of fees that they're charging for these items, they in no way are in relation to the actual cost of providing the licensure, the service, or anything else. They're arbitrary at best, and I would say, you know, in my opinion, they're outlandish. But I'm going to give you guys the information, and then you can decide for yourself. So this was put out by the Michigan Medical Business Licensing Board. It is their pricing for the fees. You can go to the Michigan LARA's website, just Google it, and pull these up for yourself. And there is flexibility in the fee amounts based on the number of people that will apply. How that will be done, I don't know. It seems confusing to me. I'll give you an example. What they're saying is if we have 500 applicants, the fee is going to be $8,000. If we have 2,000 applicants, the fee is going to be $4,500. So let's say, for instance, you're one of the first 500 people and you paid the $8,000. Will you be getting a refund of the $3,500 difference since the fee amount will be adjusted based on the number of applicants? That would be my question. The answer is I don't know. But here we go. This is what the state is saying. This is the chart of fees applying to all applicants, which they say could change over time. But this is the starting basis for that. So this is the application fee covering the cost of the administration and processing paperwork, and it is estimated on the number of applications received. So again, right there, proving my point, which I'm saying the state should only be collecting enough money to take care of what it is they're providing. And that's what they're kind of saying here, but we all know that's a bunch of baloney. Application fees cover the cost of administration and processing paperwork. There's no freaking way that it costs $8,000 to process someone's application for medical marijuana. However, that's what the state's going to charge if there are 500 applicants or less. All right, and when I say applicants, we're talking about anyone applying for any type of license. So there's a good possibility there will be more than 500 applications received. They might receive tens of thousands of applications, I don't know. But at any rate, if 500 or less are received, the fee for that application is going to be $8,000. And you're probably thinking, well, what is it I'm applying for? That's what I'm telling you. It doesn't matter what you're applying for. If you are applying to the program, your application fee is going to be $8,000 minimum. All right. Now, if they receive 1,000 applications, your fee gets dropped down to $6,000. 1,500 apps received, fee goes to $5,000. And if they get 2,000 applications or more, your fee is going to be $4,500. Now, again, the state says that these are subject to change. They may be adjusted. But at any rate, that's what they're looking at to begin. So you could be looking at a $4,500 fee to apply. You could be looking at an $8,000 fee to apply. If you're going to be one of the first people to send your apps in, which I hear everybody is, plan on the $8,000. All right. Now, this is just for the application fee. Let's move on, and let's say that you've selected what type of license it is that you want to apply for. So you got your app fee. Now you're going to be, let's say you're going to be a processor, or you're going to be a grower, you're going to be a distributor or a transporter, whatever. Those all have their own set of fees as well. Okay, so your first fee has been collected. Second fee, let's get into these. Class A cultivation licenses. Talking about growing facilities here. They will pay a $10,000 application fee unless the state receives more than 1,800 applications, in which case the fee would drop to $9,000 instead of $10,000. All right. So Class A, for those of you that don't know, Class A growing license is for the smallest growing license that they are offering, which is 500 plants, or up to growing 500 plants. Class B. All right, Class B, which is up to 1,000 plants. Class B or Class C, which is up to 1,500 plants. Your fee, if there are 300 or less, the fee will be $57,000 per application. $57,000 per application if there are 300 or less applicants. If there are 301 to 600 applicants, your fee would drop down to $28,000. And again, these fees are on top of the $8,000 or the $9,000 that you paid for your app fee. Okay, so this is in addition to that. If there are 601 to 1,200 applications received for, again, Class B or Class C, your fee drops to $14,000, and it bottoms out at $9,000 if they receive, let's see, over 1,800 applications. It says if there are 1,201 to 1,800 applications, the fee drops to $9,000. There's no category for if there are more than 1,800 apps received. I'm assuming that they're not going to drop it any farther than $9,000. So in that case, if you did get to that level, you'd have paid $9,000 for your app fee plus another $9,000 for your growing Class C fee. Let's move on here. All right. It says here, safety compliance facilities, which are going to be basically testing labs, pay no application fee under the new LARA information. So that's kind of interesting. it seems like if we're covering cost here, there would be cost involved in certifying and approving a safety compliance facility, but it seems that the state's not going to charge for that. So the other guys are picking up the tabs, I'm assuming. It doesn't list out the fee for a transporter's license other than the initial $9,000 application fee, so I don't know if there's an additional fee for that. It does not list out an additional fee for a distribution license either, other than the initial $9,000 application fee. These fees are associated and collected by the state. They are separate from any fees that may be charged by the township, city, or local authority that's also licensing these facilities as well. So you can see how just the fees on these are quite extensive. They're not as bad as what we've seen in some of the other states, I will say that. However, they're pretty large. I don't know that the average caregiver out there is going to be able to just come up with $20,000, or in some cases maybe closer to $60,000, whatever it may be, just to pay for a license fee. I know I got my fishing license this year, and I think that cost me, like, with a trout stamp, on what was like 25 bucks or something. So I don't know. Obviously not the same thing, but I think I'm making my point here. It's just amazing what the state is doing, and you know, it's really amazing that they passed this legislation with the dollar signs in their eyes the way that they did. It's just, especially since the fact that this is for medicine. Have they forgotten? Have they forgotten that this is for sick people, for debilitated people, for people who are, you know, end of life stage? That's what this medical marijuana was passed for, and yet they just don't seem to even take that into consideration. All they want is the money. It is disgusting to me. All right. That's it for the fees. That's it for the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. They haven't listed out any other information. I do believe they have another meeting coming up in October, which I think is at the Kellogg Center. It is open to the public, so you guys can attend if you like. You can look it up on the Michigan LARA's department's website. Just type in medical marijuana on their search line, and you'll be accessible to all this information I just went over, plus their meeting schedule, where they're going to be at, and where they're at in the process, and so on and so forth. Okay? So I just want to keep you guys up to par with what's going on with this new program. You know, a lot of folks still ask what's going on with the G. Nothing's going on with the G. We have never been a dispensary. We're not going to be one. We're a compassion club. We're basically patients and caregivers facilitating the law as it was written originally, and nothing's changed. So we'll continue to do what it is that we do, and we'll see what the rest of the state does as well. Keep an eye on it, keep you guys informed, and do our best to make sure everybody's on the up and up as well. All right.
Is a compassion club set up? You know, the way you have it set up as a compassion club, is that just inherent, like, to Michigan, or is that also a model for other states?
Well, it is a model that you see in other states. It is a model that we personally kind of got the concept from compassion clubs in British Columbia, actually, where you had multiple caregivers working together to provide medicine to patients, and the patients using that collective as well. So every model is different, but they're all sort of different by schematic and by just minor details when you look at state to state. And what it is you're just trying to make sure you stay compliant and make sure that you know, at the end of the day, your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I mean, really, what it is patients getting medication. You know, as simply as that, as simple as I can put it. But no, I mean, and that's kind of the thing. You know, when you look at this from, like, your point of view, John, where it's just sort of on the outside and not really affected by it one way or another, people can sort of see through the facade here that the state's putting on and understand that, look, at the end of the day, it's still marijuana. It's still people using marijuana for medicinal purposes. What's the difference? You know, so I think that you know, I have mixed feelings about the new law. Of course, you know, I think it's interesting. I think it is highly unlikely that patients will be bearing the cost of all of these licensing fees plus taxes and so on. And I think that the only way these places will be able to recoup their initial capital investments will be if this market is turned into a recreational one. And we're being told right now that certain members on the Michigan Medical Marijuana Licensing Board are not necessarily proponents of legalized adult use for marijuana. So I don't know that that's necessarily the game plan here, but I do think that the majority of people that are going to get into this on a business level are assuming that, yes, it is going to become recreational and that they will be serving that particular market as well. I mean, this is a pretty serious investment if somebody's looking to get started in one of these new medical marijuana facilities. You're talking about anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 investment just for your license, and that hasn't, paid an electrical bill or bought a light bulb yet. So, all right, moving on here. Another example of what I'm talking about here with, sort of, you're seeing the state switch their tune. Originally, they didn't like the medical marijuana law. They didn't want to work with it. And now they're all gung-ho because they're getting paid. Kalkaska is another area that exactly exemplifies that exact same scenario. Kalkaska was a hotbed of prosecution going after caregivers and patients up there in Kalkaska County. We had multiple different cases that were reviewed. One of the very first cases in Michigan that went sort of viral, if you will, and it was Archie Keel up in Kalkaska County. He was growing medical marijuana plants on his own property under the sun. They went in and raided him, and it went from there. So not a very friendly place at all to medical marijuana, Kalkaska County. However, now, since they're able to collect some cash, they're all on the bandwagon. They're looking to pass ordinance, looking to get licenses issued, so on and so forth. I don't need to get into further detail, but you can see how these communities are switching tunes for a paycheck. So, and you can't blame them. A lot of communities are struggling right now and they need extra revenue generation. And so I certainly don't blame them for passing these new bills, allowing these new businesses to come in. What is sickening is seeing that there were people who went to jail for doing the exact same thing, who had their lives ruined for the exact same thing. And that's what we need to ensure that that does not happen while we see these new programs be instituted here in the state of Michigan. There was recently a bulletin that was issued out, and I don't know if it came directly from the Michigan State Police or if it came from LARA. But what the sentiment was of the bulletin was that the state police were not looking to rush out and to close every one of these dispensaries that have been operating over the past 8 years. They were looking for continued direction from their local municipalities, from their local authorities, looking to see and really treating these current businesses no different than they had been in the past. So that may be a comfort for some and may be a nightmare for others, but I think that the rhetoric that, they're going to go shut everybody down, that rhetoric is nonsense. That's not going to happen. Sure, there will be some people that will be shut down. There will be some people that will voluntarily shut their doors and try to convert to the new system. But there's going to be other people that just won't change. So we have yet to see how this is going to be done. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any sort of top-down administration saying, look, everybody closes and you all reapply. That doesn't seem to be the case, even though that might have been sort of signaled from the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. That particular language and that particular sentiment from a few select board members on the board really has no bearing of any weight, no authority whatsoever. So that board does not have the ability to decipher whether or not someone should be in business. They do have the ability, however, to decide whether or not to approve your application. So it's up to you how you want to play that game. And more power to you. All right. But communities across the state are stepping up. I think I've already mentioned a few on the program here in the past. Pinconning, Bay City. I think there's some action going down in Ferndale. We've got Traverse City, Ann Arbor as well. So you got communities all across the state. Kalamazoo is another one, Paw, that are looking at writing their own ordinances for these new facilities. And then there's quite a few around there that are still waiting for the state to decide what the state is going to do, so that they don't have to go back and rework everything, apparently. So, but this is where we're at. This is how the state's rolling out. There's the fee schedule. I want to share that with you guys. I thought it was important. To me, it was definitely an eye-opener to see what the state is really motivated by. Seeing it in writing in black and white. Here, look, we want your money. That's essentially what the state is saying. And I'm sure there will be plenty of folks lining up to give it to them. So, at any rate, that's what it is. I think the important thing is that patients continue to get their medication. There's going to be some downtime, certainly in between there. So caregivers need to continue doing what caregivers do. And, the important thing is that caregivers do it in a professional presentation. I mean, get your medicine tested, get it checked out. No, we don't have to use seed to sale operating systems like the new places are going to have to. Doesn't mean that you can't do it yourself. Provide your own quality and controls and checks and balances so that when your patients want verification of what it is that you say you're providing, you can show that to them. And really, there's no corporation out there that can do that better than you. You have the ability to provide that level of service to your patient if that's what you want to do. We've got testing available at the G3C. You can go in there and get a full-scale test and find out exactly what's in your medication and whether or not it's going to be effective for your patients. And then the other thing is that, at the G, you've got the biggest variety you can think of. And I think that is one of the most important things for patients as well, to be able to find out what works for them and have the access to that. And that's key. If you've only got a couple strains available for a patient, there's a likelihood that it's not the strains they're looking for, or it's not being presented in the form that they need it to be. So having the community work together like we do, having the options available for the patients, I think is really the best thing available right now. And it probably will continue to be the best thing as well. So, all right, that's about it for what I've got this week as far as news and stuff goes on. I know we've had a lot of different events, world events going on, and some of the things are not so pretty. It seems like we always have these tragic events every time. You go from a hurricane to a mass shooting to, all these different tragedies. Tom Petty died. That's a tragedy as well. And I think we can get into all these different debates on, who should have what rights and who's right and who's wrong. I think the important thing that I was personally reminded of in the face of these tragedies was that today is all you've got. Tomorrow is not given, it's not granted, it's not promised. So if there is any argument that we should all be on the side of, it is on the argument side of the living. All right. So if you are upset, if you are lonely, if you're depressed, you are alive. And that right there, my friends, is something to be happy about. Okay. So take that with you this week. That's my little positive message. Keep your chin up and maybe even stretch your hand out and help somebody else lift their chin up as well. All right. So positivity is what we need. And we need to remember that we are all human. Okay. Guys, thanks for joining me this week. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you stay high, elevated, and medicated. All right? See us at the G3C. John, thanks for being with me in the studio. Check out the other podcast here on allpointstv.com. You'll get informed, and it's good stuff. All right? Thanks for joining me here. I'm your host, Jeremy, and this is the Genesee County Compassion Club Show. See ya.